Dr. Kimbro, you're kind of, you've been out doing a lot of speaking lately, and of course, you've always spoken inside of the institution, the university, but I've been monitoring and watching the activities as of late. So clearly, since we've come up out of the pandemic, you've put your running shoes on and you've been out in the highways and byways. And what are your thoughts based upon what you're witnessing as you're out speaking and engaging with our people? What are your thoughts about, as Dr. Fraser just said, we can't open new locks with old keys. So what are the new ideas that you're encountering, the new technologies, the new thinking that we must embrace in order to move forward?
That's a great question. And I was on a podcast from Washington, D.C. a couple of days ago, and I told them, I said, everybody's got, the new thing, the gift, especially in the social media world, new and improved, the new stance, the new ideas, the new 7 keys, the new tips, tools, and technology.
Right.
And I told them, I said, well, not really. And then I went on to say, Napoleon Hill had 17 principles for success. Stephen Covey has 7 habits of highly effective people. Brian Tracy, of course, has his 7. Dennis Waitley, 10 to 12 in the Seeds of Greatness. Marcus Buckingham certainly has 12 effective steps for effective managing. They're all different interpretations of the same basic, and that's the construct, basic, that's the sensibilities, principles. Now, the application can change, but the principles don't.
Right.
The principles don't. And I try to tell that every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm standing in front of Generation Z, Generation X, and for the last 2 semesters, thank you, Lord, I get a chance, I'm teaching 12 doctoral candidates, and these are straight up millennials. And you try to explain that to them, that nothing really changes. And if it does change, it's all based on your perception. You don't see what you see in terms of what you see. And as soon as you change, what you see will change. But it's the same. It is the exact same. So it's a question of, and George, you said this, of really knowing who you are and whose you are. And as soon as we latch onto that and know why we are here,
right? Just
the fact that you are here means that your purpose is here, and it's best that you get on the path of finding your purpose, Lawrence Scovel Shin, your divine design, the sooner you get on with life. Life isn't short. It's just so many people wait to live life, and they realize, well, what took you so long? Talking about when I had the blessing to be a commencement speaker out in California, and I was talking about the creator economy, and me and a very dear friend, Simon Bailey, we often get into this dialogue on, you create your own economy. There's a book out there that I encourage everybody to get, and it's called Abundance. Oh man, right on the tip of my tongue.
Peter Diamandis?
Yeah.
Peter Diamandis' book?
Yeah, Peter Diamandis. And they went on to say, that everything changed in 1993 when a sophomore student at University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana came up with the first website. And within an 18-month period, the growth of the internet grew in excess of 2,300%. So what it did, like almost night, it changed life as we know it.
Right.
As we know. So it made everybody a creator in their own economy. And you guys heard me say this before, as long as you got a smartphone and you got internet service, you're a master of your universe. And at the end of the next 18 months, there'll be 8 billion sets of eyes and ears ready to hear what you can bring to the table. Now, how you capitalize that is completely and totally up to you. Question, Simon Sinek, why you do it is something completely different. And that's what George hit in his opening statement. It is the why. If you're in it for yourself, God help you. I hope you just make a bundle and jack it up. But if you have an overriding, an overarching purpose, the universe is always on the side of the angels.
Right.
Always. And I'm not so sure that we're doing that. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. George, Brother Bedford, I read an interesting article online talking about beauty supply. And so many of us, particularly our women and stuff, we are in the beauty supply. And Black women have taken beauty to the next level,
Right.
to the next level. The opposite side of that, are we really capitalizing on their efforts? Are we really capitalizing? And I found, and when I read that data, I sent the text out to my 3 daughters and they said, Dad, come on, man, you're lying. But my youngest daughter, Mackenzie, with her big bad MBA, she said, no, Dad, that article's right. And what was that article? Less than 4% of the Black beauty products that we see in beauty supply stores are
Right.
Black owned.
Right. Yeah.
Less than 4%. And I said, okay, Mackenzie, help me remember. Well, Dad, you interviewed, man, Lisa Harris, man, she doesn't own that business anymore. And I said, what about that sister that came up with Honey Pot? Oh, man, she sold that long time ago. But, whoa. Now, you go back to the 1950s and 60s when Black entrepreneurs were predominantly in manufacturing businesses. From Johnson Hair Care to Johnson Products and Dudley and all of that, all of them, S.B. Fuller. Now, come on, man. And even in the age of DEI, we're getting pigeonholed. That's why please don't use that term minority supplier with me. Don't use that term minority. You talk about code words, brother. You talk about gaslighting. Come on, man. No, I'm not coming here to be your caterer. I'm not coming here your janitorial service. Right. I mean, show me how we can really cash out. Show me how we can really cash out. Give me thank God, and I'm lining it up as fast as I can to finally interview Robert Smith. That's what we need more of. I know I went in a circuitous way, but you asked me what was on my mind and what I was talking about, and I can only hark back to where I was 3 days ago. What was I talking about now? And bring it to the table.
Right. No, that's perfect. This is great. What are you, because you said something, I'm just going to come up, I'm going to come back to it because you said something, but I want to hear what are you doing, Dr. Fred? I mean, you same thing, you're hitting the ground running. I mean, you're all over the place. I'm following you. You're booked here. You're speaking there. What is happening with your interaction? What you have your fingers on the pulse of our people quite often. What are you seeing right now? What are your thoughts about that?
Dennis touched on it. So I'm going to go an inch wide and a mile deep. As I'm out here, as Dennis, as you're out here, and Dr. Kimbro we're out here, and we do have our fingers on the pulse. Some make us joyful, much make us thoughtful, a lot makes us sad. Dennis talked about purpose. Now he just glided by I guess he didn't want to get too deep on you. But that's huge. It's huge. And so I'm going to unpack purpose in less than 90 seconds. And that is, what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is not complicated because God doesn't make anything complicated because he needs for everyone to understand it. We tend to make things complicated, not God. We make things complicated for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want to do it. So the more complicated we could make it, the more reasons we have for not doing it. The second reason we tend to complicate things is to control power, right? So the more complicated I could make something, the more power or control I have over you that does not understand what in fact I am doing. A classic example of this was an idea that almost crashed the global economy, something called credit default swaps. Oh, about 6 people on earth understood what it was, but it
Right.
almost tanked the global economy. So let me unpack for everyone, what is the purpose of life? Now, God has put each of us here with a unique purpose. There's a job that he's assigned only Dr. Dennis Kimbro to do, and if he does not do it, it will not get done in the universe. The same thing with you, Brother Bedford, and the same thing with the 83 people, at least on the Zoom call, and many more on the streaming, right? There's an assignment you have. That is your unique purpose, but the global purpose of us sucking up this good air and taking up whatever time God has blessed you with. The global spiritual purpose is, here's the purpose, it's 4 simple things: to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. Now, your big singular assignment is to find out uniquely what that job is in you, right? Let me say that with a little quip. What is the difference between a smart person and a wise person? It's actually very simple. Smart people know what they want. Wise people know what they don't want, right? They know what they don't want. They have navigated the obstacles of life, right? My favorite quote outside of the Bible, you've heard me say this many times, Brother Bedford, outside of the Bible, is from Marcus Aurelius, one of the 5 great Caesars. Now, there were 40 Caesars, but Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars. And he said, the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Now, let me say that more simply. The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that he has prepared you for? The next thing God does is he puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle, to stumble, to fail, to fall, and to learn the lessons from those obstacles. And then God gives you your next assignment at a slightly higher level based on the lessons, hopefully, you learned from the obstacles that you had to navigate earlier. And then what is the next thing God does? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under. And when we look back over our lives, it is a life of overcoming obstacles from which one gains wisdom and one knows what in fact they don't want. Okay. I wrote something and I can't find it. I wanted to because I was trying to put that in sort of everyday lay language, so the brothers and sisters could understand it. And I actually wrote it to give it to you, but damn it, I can't find it.
Well,
But
let me offer this, because I tell my
Sure.
students the same thing. Don't worry about everybody's trying to chase the bag and this, that, and everything. I tell them all the time, don't worry about what you're getting. Concentrate more on what you're becoming.
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
that's a beautiful, beautiful way to say that. Now, one final little piece. For 35 years, I have been either infamous or famous for helping us to understand networking.
Right.
right? And having written 6 books on that subject. 1994, Success Runs in Our Race came out right after Dr. Kimbro's killing, right? And the complete guide to effective networking in the Black community. It is a modern day classic, as Dr. Kimbro's books are. We still read them and refer to them, as you pointed out, Brother Bedford. It is a book that started the networking conversation in Black America and ultimately started the networking movement. If you haven't read it, please read it. You can still buy this book. Believe it or not, it's now 32 years old. It still sells 10,000 copies every year on Amazon. So there, other than the Bible, there are very few books that Dr. Kimbro has written and I have written that you can still buy 30, 35 years later.
Classics that are just
Right,
classics.
They're classics. They're classics, as Dr. Kimbro's is, right? So what I've decided to do actually this year is to put a fresh coat of paint, Dr. Kimbro, the idea of networking. So I'm no longer calling it networking. I'm now calling it the power of the human connection. The power of the human connection, because there is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own by yourself in a vacuum.
Exactly.
Right? Leaders don't build businesses, they build people, and people build businesses. Right? So our job as leaders, as servant leaders, is nurturing and cultivating and inspiring and training the people around us. This requires understanding the power of the human connection, which is closely associated, by the way, with wealth. So let me just unpack this in 5 minutes, and then I want to throw it back to my colleague and good friend, Dr. Dennis Kimbro. There was only one time in the Bible that God did not like his own work. And he contradicted himself in a sense. It's Genesis 3:1. God saw everything that he made, and behold, he said, it was good. But then in Genesis 1:18, he switched up. And the Lord said, it is not good for man to be alone.
Right.
I will make him a helper comparable to him. This is the only time in the Bible God was not pleased with his own work. He said, I sort of screwed up here. We just got a guy hanging out, right? That's not going to get it. There's a biblical declaration, by the way, for the human connection. And it's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. There are 800,000 words in the Bible. Only 1,500 words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this is Jesus, the Son of God, right? He couldn't get it done on his own, by himself, in a vacuum. So God's love of the human connection is clear. And he gave us 2 ways, and I'll close with this, to ensure that we connect, so that we are creating more of his children to serve us, right? And for us, in fact, to serve. Well, Dr. Fraser, what are those 2 ways? Sex and money. Sex and money, Dr. Kimbro. Right? Now, so let me unpack that. I know it sounds a little crazy. Let me unpack it, everybody.
Because you know
Don't burn me on the stake. Don't burn me at the stake.
Right. I was just about to say, because you know you excited a lot of people with this.
All right. So the primary motivation of sex is ecstasy. There is nothing on earth that you can experience better than the ecstasy of sex. But that is not the primary goal of sex. The primary goal of sex is what? Creation. That is the primary goal of creation, to create more of us, to serve us, and for us to serve, right? Now, you create children, and if you screw them up,
Mhm.
We've all seen that.
Yeah.
You will have a living hell to pay. So sex, to ensure that God's children continue to connect. Money. Now, this sounds a little odd. Fundamentally, the only way to earn money is to develop your mind and thus your skills. And the more skills you have, the more knowledge you have, generally speaking, the higher your wages are.
Mm.
Right? The higher your wages are. If you're only making $8 an hour, you're only worth $8 an hour.
Right.
Right? So money encourages us to develop, to evolve, and to develop, and to become productive human beings, to serve and to add value to what? God's children. That encourages. In fact, Malcolm Gladwell said in one of his books, he said a common attribute of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. Rich people, and that can mean rich could mean a number of ways in which one can become rich. Rich people have lots of friends. So I finish with this final point. You measure your wealth, brothers and sisters, in case no one has told you. You measure your wealth by other people. That's what, right? Is you measure your wealth, or the measure of your wealth is other people. And so the human connection is what God wanted for all of his children. But most of us don't understand that. But you should.
Yes.
There's no way you're going to get where you're going. There's no way you're going to free yourself without understanding the power of this connection and doing the things necessary to love, give, serve, and add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. I'm sorry I went a little philosophical on you, but
That's
but
great.
but I think it's important to understand.